Wednesday, Valerie Hunt, Ask Me Anything. We've got a lot of good questions today, so I'm going to go over three main questions. So first question I got was about speed of running. They said, I'm having a hard time holding your technique or holding the technique at a slower pace. So I want to talk about how do I hold my pace in the beginning especially, and really what is slow running? Like, what does that really mean? The second question somebody said is I have flat feet and should I get surgery? Well, I'm not going to advise you on surgery. However, if you have flat feet or high arches, both of those are, one, kind of the way you're made, but also you can do hip and foot strengthening exercises, which I would recommend even if I was going to have surgery, either way. However, really always start with some good foot strength exercises first and hip, because you know everything's connected. So before you have surgery, because I've had foot surgery on both feet, and if I could take it back, I would. I'm telling you. So I'm always like, first do the work. If I can get the work done, you know, with my own body, then I certainly will. And hey guys, and you're welcome to ask a question. If you come on and you have a question, then please just ask it. So I am going to go over the movement of the running and how you set the pace. And the other question that was really also very good was just about the height of the pole. And so this kind of goes in with the speed of my running. If I'm trying to run faster, am I supposed to be pulling my foot higher? When I see faster runners, of course, their feet look very much higher. If you guys watched all the amazing running this weekend, there was 2 world records broken, American world records broken, both in the female marathon and half marathon, and the fastest half run on American soil. So everyone's getting faster, and it's not just the shoes. So I'm going to stand up. So like I said, if you have a question, please ask and I will answer. So I'm going to talk about just speed for a second in running. How do you run faster, right? Just in general. When you first think, I need to run faster, usually what people's thought is movement. Like I need to reach, or I need to pump my arms, right? So then I think we have the counter thought of when people say I need to run slower, or you hear this a lot in training, stay in zone 1 or zone 2, or stay at a conversational pace, right? So then I think people take that into meaning you should move slower. And so I want to change your mindset, one, on what is speed, and speed is free falling. So what does that mean? That means that if I hold my body further forward, I need to run faster, because if you take your body weight forward further, right, what happens to my feet? You see, they have to pull to keep up. So running is, in a sense, you're falling forward and your feet pull to keep up with you. So if you're running and you think, I need to move my feet quicker, then what happens is, or higher, either one, or more effort. So remember, if I can stay in place, running in place and not going anywhere, I'm gonna drop my arms, I'm gonna pull my feet, whoo, I'm gonna get tired, but I didn't go running because I just stood in place. So I have to understand that the effort in my run is a lot more in the falling than in the feet. So what happens when you run, the foot will pull higher, but I want you to think of something, and I'm going to help you guys with this. Running, right, is free falling, and then you're pulling your foot, right? So the action in running, because it's your in pose, fall, pull, right back in pose. So it's repeating. Pose, fall, pull. So I can't say the pose, fall. You have to let it happen. So you're really running with this. Up, 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 up. So what changes for speed is 2 things. The angle of my fall, so how far does my body fall forward, and you have to hold the fall. Just remember, that fall angle, right? I'm holding fall. And the second is, it's not the height of the pull. This is really important. When you pull your foot, any speed or distance, you pull, and once you break contact with the ground, you're done with the foot. So the best part is you pull the foot, you're done. The hamstring finishes the pull. The hamstring brings the ankle under the hip. As soon as the hamstring finishes the pull, it lets go of your foot, and your foot goes down. So the running sequence is the pose, fall, pull. You pull here, hamstring finishes the pull, then drops. So what brings the foot down is gravity, And what finishes the pull height is the hamstring. In place, it's you. You're the one doing all of the work. When you run, let gravity do a lot of the work and then your muscles. So if I'm gonna run slow, it's not that I'm running with more time on the ground, because that would make me have more impact. It's that I'm just simply not as high of a fall angle, okay? So let's just practice that for a second. And I want you to feel in place, because then we'll travel for a little bit, both, right? So first, everybody, let's just pull, bend your knees, and just think about pulling your foot up from the ground. Ready? It's just gonna go up, 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 up. Shake out your shoulders for a minute. Let your elbows be by your side. So right now, we're going up, 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 up. This is to use muscle elasticity. But you see, I can talk to you. We're just hanging out. See, up, up, up. So feel that running itself isn't like a ton of, right? So now, let's act like we want to go faster, but we're still here in place. So what I want you to do is we're not going to try to lift the foot any higher. We're just going to try to pull a little quicker. Okay, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. Up, 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 up. Okay, now I'm going to pull quicker. So watch. We listen. Up, 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 up. So cadence went up, but not the height of my pull. To practice the height of the pull, we're going to do a part 2. So part 2 is, if you would, stand in the running pose and bring your foot as high as you can, meaning touch your inside of your toe to the inside of your calf. My ankle is under my hip. So what I'd like you to do is do one fall pull like this. Fall, pull. And you see, you're always going to come back to the pose. So when you're practicing, your hamstring finished that pull for you and you let it. So you watch. Stand in your pose. Fall, pull. See? You felt the pull, right? You feel that up. The rest of the movement is your hamstring. So when we're running, we only feel that first part of the movement. We really don't feel this part. So we practice it in place, but when you're running, you just have to know it's happening. So your job is to pull, and that's it. You gotta let go of the foot and start being ready to pull the other one. So that's why it's fun to do drills, like hops, like jump roping, you know, to build that elasticity up, so when you're running, you can pull your foot and you let it go. Up, 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 see? And the further I fall for speed, the higher my foot's gonna pull, the quicker it's gonna pull, but there's no more effort. The effort is in holding my upper body in the fall that I can handle. So you guys, when you first start practicing, all of us fall way more than we can sustain. So you fall and you're like, woo! It's really quick. Then you have to get to where you're like, okay, I can actually fall and hold more of a conversational pace. And so it's just practice. But I will say this, you have to fall out of control to be able to feel control. So in the beginning, have some fun with it, you know? Practice pulling in place. Give yourself that sensation like, I know I can do this, I feel good. And then let go. And what will happen is, like I said in the beginning, a lot of people, this is another good question. It kind of goes in with your slow, fast distance of running. When you stand here, guys, this is for all of you. You're standing here, holding your ears, shoulders, hips. See this line? Never changes. Because I've been, so if you lock yourself out, if you lock your knees, it's a never, never, but if you did, you see I'm making like a straight line, right? I'm not gonna run like this. Once you bend your knees, see I bent my knees? I still have my ears, shoulders, hips in line, but you see because of the knee bend, it's a little bit ahead. So you're already holding your fall in your upper body. See, you're already there. So when you start running, you don't really have to do much, but let the whole body fall forward. There's no bending at the waist, you're already bent because the knees are bent. You understand? So you're already bent. You don't have to add any more bend. You already have your spring. So fast or slow, this whole unit goes forward until you feel the need to pull your feet. So the more you play with that, the your upper body. You don't have to bend forward. You don't have to lead with your head. Let everything hold together. What will happen is when you're running, you'll start to feel, I need to lift this up. See, it doesn't matter the pace or distance. My job's the same. I still have to pull my foot, okay? So think instead of fast or slow, or instead of fast or slow, start thinking, how much fall can I hold? That's the question of the day. Because you still have to pull your feet quick. You know, it's going to be quicker as you fall more and have to run faster, but we all need to stay at kind of a minimum cadence. Don't force the cadence, but you've got to stay at a minimum cadence of using muscle elasticity so we don't stay on the ground. So just keep that in mind. I still have to pull quick no matter the speed I run. But I'm telling you guys, just finding a wall to practice what the sensation of falling itself feels like, then when you're running, you're like, oh yeah, it's just like when I was falling to the wall. It's a freedom, it's a release. So falling's not an action, it's something you allow. And that's why it's hard to keep that conversation, it's because it doesn't make sense unless you start to really play with it and feel it. So we do get stuck, everyone does, on pulling the foot, how high do I pull? So I hope that helped out. But I'm telling you, the more you kind of practice, the sensation of it, it makes so much more sense, right? When you take it out and run. The effort isn't breathing, the effort isn't holding my body weight up. There's a lot of effort in that part. The effort is not in the pull, okay? So keep that in mind. Guys, we do have a 30-day RunRx reboot on YouTube. It's a lot of fun. You go through from the beginning. It'll take you through the how to get started on the practice. And then it gives you skill, strength, and self-care to keep you progressing. If you have like a twinge, you're feeling some kind of pain somewhere from your run, get on the website and take the quiz, and it helps you to get a skill, strength, and self-care tip for maybe that particular issue. You might be pushing, you might be reaching, you know, who knows. And that's on the site for free, runrx.fit. Happy New Year, by the way. If you're just coming back into running, it's a great way to get back in. And I'm always here on Wednesdays to answer questions. So no one else asked any more questions. So that was the main questions today. Should I get foot surgery? That's between you and your doctor, but please, even if you do, at least start with hip and foot strength as well to go with it. You guys would, when I first started teaching running, one of my friends, was my mentor, physical therapist, and I would send her runners and say, you know, so-and-so's got a T-band or planners or, you know, whatever, and she actually mentored with her for years. And she was like, Valerie, their feet are made of pudding. You're sending me people that have like no foundation in their feet. And a lot of it was because if you're not actively working the foot, it's not just magically strong, right? You have to do footwork. You have to do ankle openers and scrunches, all of that kind of stuff, but also hip exercises. It's not about how strong my muscle is. It's about the strength of my body being able to hold my body weight, right? More than the muscle, can my body hold my body weight? And then we can look for imbalances in strength to help you hold your body weight, right? I do that all the time when I watch people with gait analysis. I help them with all that. Is it okay to run through the pain? Well, that's a good question. So I would say this, running through the pain. Is it painful the whole time you run? Because, you know, what I do, of course, run pain free, I start people with a gait analysis, right? When I want to see you move. I want to see you run. I want to see you sometimes walk. I want to see you sometimes stand. What is causing that pain is my first question, right? So then you can go into, if you're able to keep running through it, it's probably a muscular pain, and you probably don't have, but you're causing that injury. So to make sure that if you're going to keep running through it, the way I would say is go back through your running, check in on your skill and technique, do some practice in the pose, get yourself really understanding your running as well, because I don't want to have to run through pain. I want to be pain-free, right? So if I'm out for a run, I would try to reset. Say you're running, guys, and let's just use the hip. It's common. Hip starts to hurt. Stop running for a second. Now, if you can get out of the pain while you're running, that's great. And I try to help with that too. But say my hip just starts, it starts to really hurt. Then stop for a second. Reset. Maybe even stretch some hip movement, right? See, test it. How does my hip feel today, right? Did I warm it up this morning, right? Start to think, like maybe I'm not being very nice to my hip. Do some ball foot hops. Pull in place. If you can pull in place pain-free, then you should be able to go for a run. Like that's a really good test. Can I, in place, up, 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 up? If I can, I should be able to go running. And that's important because when you stop to reset, get back there, and then reset back into your run. So I'm a big fan of continuing to move, not just stopping movement, but resetting so I can get out of that pain. And if I keep getting that same pain, guys, every time I run, something's going on during my running. So be very careful with that. You don't want to be like, oh, my knee, oh, my hip, oh, my calf. It's a recurring issue. Well, then let's see what's going on so that that doesn't become part of your running, right? That's the important thing. Okay, now believe me, I have I have run through a lot of, and so it used to be, of course, run through it. People would say that all the time. Just be careful that it's not becoming part of the running. Like I don't want to run every time I run, I have a pain. So try the quiz and see if you can get an answer from that. Of course, I would love to see you. If you want to go full throttle, come in and get a gait analysis, and let's see what's going on. That's the best way to do it. All right, guys, thank you so much. I love the questions. I love talking to everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday, same time. Have a great week. Thank you. Oh, wait, somebody just put something in. It's foot pain. Okay, well, Emily, I would definitely say do some coarse foot strength exercises. If you have not gone into the reboot, there's some really good stuff. And then, like I said, if you can get to where feel like, can I pull in place? Can I just do a few runs in place? Even a few hops in place? Let that foot start to not just tell you it feels better, but learn the correct movement. Like while I'm in recovering or while I have a pain is probably the best time to start working on my technique because I can do low impact. I don't have to bounce. And start working on, maybe I need to work on my hamstring a little bit more. Maybe I didn't realize when I was running. I had someone yesterday send in a gait analysis and her foot hurts. So I said, send me a gait analysis, let me see your run. Well, every time her right foot comes down, she's doing this with it. And then the foot rolls like this. Well, 1,500 steps a minute, and that's what she's doing to her foot. Well, it probably would hurt me too, right? So the answer is, I'm not gonna work on, we in no way want her to put her foot down on the ground. So what do we do to correct it? So what she's working on to correct it is a simple fall pull drill. Because if you learn to just focus on the pull, then this foot will drop and reduce impact by half. See what I mean? So first work on some of these drills, start to feel it. And I'm telling you, when you start to realize like, oh, maybe I was pushing. Maybe I have been putting too much weight in my feet. So start to connect with the movement, right? Yeah, do not bounce, right? So, yeah. That's the goal. If it's hurting when you bounce, do the drills with no bouncing. Then let yourself get back into bouncing. See, progress yourself back up. Your body will thank you. Guys, by the way, if you go to my YouTube channel, there is also a demo on walking. So while I'm injured, it's a great time to start practicing some post walking. You still have to be on your feet. And there are strength exercises in there. So they can help you. If I can't get out to run, I can do some strength. It's all great because I can work on what I still need to be working on for my run without just not running or not doing any movement at all, right? That's what's so important. Rest through movement. That's what I'll recover through movement. Maybe that's a good way to say it. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you. Emily, let us know how your foot feels. I hope it feels better. And like I said, go through the quiz, go through the reboot. You guys, you can ask questions on the reboot. People do that to me all the time. But really go through it. Any encounters with SI joint pain? Well, yeah. Not laughing. It's horrific. I have, unfortunately, guys, that's all I deal with is pain, right? And part of the reason I love what I do because I get to see people get out of pain, right? But unfortunately, almost everyone I meet is in pain. So then I'm like, I promise we'll get out of Same thing, if my SI joint's hurting, right, this hip joint's hurting, I have to do several things. One, let me see your movement. So I can help you with that, because most hip joint pain in running, because that's what I'm dealing with you, is running, is coming either from pushing off the back, which stresses the hip, but 99% of the people, it's from reaching in the front. And honestly, what helps to correct is just starting by correcting your pose, your running pose, which is of course how you hold yourself, right? And even just standing in balance helps. Then you've got to add some specific hip exercises. And this is important, because if I think that I should just stretch and stretch and stretch, I'm missing out on what I really need is to make sure that hip can move through an entire full range of motion. Guys, remember your hip's a ball and socket joint. So make sure you're doing things to work the hip through the full range, and also strengthening the hip in the same plane you're going to be running in. So I really encourage doing hip exercises that are standing flat on the back so that you get more and more comfortable with being in that right pose, right? I have weight-bearing and non-weight bearing exercises. So the combination, honestly, of putting yourself in the right position for whatever movement, just so you know, is you're gonna do. If you were a squatter, I would tell you the same thing. But running, we have a running position, so we have to get stronger in that pose. So that's part of the exercises I have in the reboot. And start where you can, right? If something's really hurting me now, I'm not gonna try to do a bunch of them, but maybe I just start with like a few swings or, you know, a little bit of movement. And a lot of times people will say to me, I have really tight hips. So do I. I have tight shoulders, tight hips, you name it, tight, we're runners. So it's not a detriment, it's just an is. Like I have brown eyes, I have tight hips. So the difference is knowing I have tight hips means I have to do something about it. Knowing I have a certain, you know, color of something doesn't change anything. But it doesn't make me like, oh, I have tight hips, I can't run. No, it means I have tight hips, I have to do extra hip mobility. I have to do extra hip strength exercises, and I have to make sure when I run that I do not stress the hip. So that is the road to take you down. And by the way, it's unfortunate because I've been there too. Sometimes when these injuries come up and you think, I don't remember doing anything specific, what did I do to do that? Guys, these are patterns that some of us repeat over years and years, and you just sometimes, there's just a point where you feel it. So don't worry about it. More, how do I get back to where I should be? All right? But yes, I definitely encourage everyone to do self-work, you know, like and I love rollers and balls and all that kind of stuff as well, but just know it's the combination of the three. If I do the strength work and I do the self-care, the rolling and all that, and I practice the correct place to be when I want to do that movement, then when I go back to doing that movement, that's where I'll be, and then your hip will be happier, and your feet. All right, guys, thank you. That was really fun. I will see you next week. Have a great week.